I hope you're having a great evening. I'm on this video to actually talk about something which is going to be incredibly useful for you guys, especially the ones that are running campaigns or that are buying online leads and that are trying this online stuff that they know is it has to work, but they're just not having those results. They are just quoting a lot and they are not really getting so much clients, and they are wondering why this online stuff has such a low return on investment and why am I closing so little, why the things or the strategies that I apply with my referrals don't work with the cold leads I buy online. Why is this whole thing not working? Well, I've got the solution for you in this video, so stick till the end. So if you're in this video, you'll probably notice that a lot of clients will just get your quote and ghost on you, or get your quote, and if they even respond, if they even say thank you, then they might respond to you, well, we've actually chose this business right here, or we actually going to think about it, or we're considering our options. Well, to sum up, they just don't close, and you might be wondering, why is this happening? What am I doing wrong? Why these online leads are such a waste of time? Why am I not getting my money back? Why this seems to be like the next big thing, getting clients online, but I just cannot make it work, This is the solution that you guys are going to apply so that you can change this situation. You're going to stop sending the quote on email or through WhatsApp or through messages. You're going to stop doing that thing, because it's actually, I'm not going to say stupid, because I don't want to I don't want to be so direct, but it just doesn't really make much sense. Why does it not make any kind of sense? Well, the thing is that, why, just vision this question: why does the prospect reach out for? Well, because they need help. They need help with something they do not understand. They need help with something that they want to do on their homes, but they just don't understand. That's why they call you as an expert, so that you can assess what needs to be done, how can it be done, the qualities, the materials, times, etc., etc., etc. All right. So basically, what happens is that you send them a quote through email or through some channel that they review themselves. But actually, have you actually thought that the only thing that the prospect is going to understand about your quote without your help is just going to be the price? Like, when you send a 20-page quote, for example, they do not understand 19 pages. The only page they do understand is the last one, which says total cost X amount of money, $100,000, for example. So if the client or the prospect only understands the final number, what do you think they're gonna use to actually make their decision if they only understand the number? Well, they're probably just gonna understand the number. Now, you might have one question right now. Well, with the leads that I get from referrals, I do send them through email, and I don't have this problem. Why is this with these leads? Well, these leads are cold. At the end of the day, what sells the most is not so much the price, but the actual trust. How much can you trust that the person you're gonna bring inside your home is actually gonna do a good job? When you go through referrals, you don't need to put any effort. You don't need to put any effort. You don't need to be the best at sales, because they essentially know that you're gonna do good things. Like, you're gonna get them a good result. They know that because they've been referred by somebody that speaks wonders about you, probably. All right. The thing is that when they come cold, when they don't know you, when they don't know what have you done, when they don't know your experience with, when they are not completely sure of your good intentions, when they don't know you, then it's a completely different game. The fact is that when they don't know you, they simply do not have enough trust as to say, well, I will just go with this guy because, well, I've just met him like 1 week ago. I saw an ad from him, from his company, and he's more expensive. I don't really know what he's quoting. I don't really know if he's actually going to be as good as he says he's going to be, because actually everyone says that they're going to be the best. But yeah, I'm just going to choose them. No, this obviously is not going to happen. And that is why you don't never ever want to send the email with the quote or the WhatsApp or the message or the text, whatever, because you just lose leverage. Like you lose power on the sales process. You lose control. They're not gonna get back to you most of the time. It's people with their own objections. They tend to be close, or they tend to be not accessible, especially if you've not built trust on a massive level during the first appointment, which you probably haven't. Like, let's be honest, you have never probably done any sales course or any sales training so that you can increase your trust. You probably have done a lot of formation, teachings, and courses to do better service, but when it comes to sales, it's very likely that you haven't done so much, and it's very likely that you haven't given that trust as of for them to be open about their objections. All right, it's very likely that you haven't made the right questions to get them emotionally involved in the process. You probably just make technical questions about what they want and all that stuff, but when it comes about the pain state that there are, probably you haven't made any questions. When it comes about the dream desire that they've got for their home, for their family, for their well-being, you haven't probably spoken about that. So it's just you haven't created that bond, and that's going to make them give you pushback when you send the quote through email. That's why you don't do it. So what do you have to do? You have to have a second appointment with them in which you show them the quote, you explain that to them, and you're able to increase trust, because they are going to understand what are you doing, why things costs what they cost, what exactly are you going to do, how the process is going to work, the timings, the guarantees. They are going to be able to understand everything just way better. All right, that's the first reason why we want to explain the quote in a second appointment. The second reason why we want to do that is because when we show the price in person, that gives us control, that gives us an opportunity to actually see what is going on. Like, is it about the price? Is it about the fact that you've got other quotes that maybe are cheaper? Like, what is the reason why right now you're not confident, fully confident of this quote, this company, us being the ones taking charge of your project? All right, what is the reason? Is it fear? You're not sure whether we're actually going to do things as we say we're going to do things? Are you looking for some sort of guarantees? Did you just don't agree with the project that we've proposed, like we've proposed to you on the first point? Like, you cannot, for example, you cannot handle the price concern if they're not fully confident that the distribution or the design that you've proposed to them, they actually like. First of all, what you would have to do is to work on the design. But anyway, that is the true reasons why we want to explain the quote in person. Now, this doesn't mean that the prospect is always going to be open to that. In fact, they're probably just going to say, hey, send it through email. It's going to be more comfortable with us or for us. But the thing is that this happens because of two reasons. First, they are maybe a little bit concerned about the price. They don't know how much it's going to be, and they don't want to commit to something they don't really know if they can afford. That is one reason why you should and you have to speak about money on the first appointment. You have to be you have to be that transparent. You have to be that authentic. You have to build that trust as to have that conversation. Why? Because when you speak about money, then it's not going to be such of a shock. Such of a shock. It's going to be something that, well, maybe they expected a little bit more. Now it's not anymore a super crazy pricing that they didn't expect, that is just way out of their budget. Instead, it's going to be something that, well, probably they're going to be able to afford. Why? Because you've spoken about price, you've spoken about money. You more or less have an idea of how much they want to spend. You've given them like a range of prices, how much does it typically cost with you, the kind of project that the client or the prospect wants to do, and then he has told you, well, we have this, or we thought of that, we've got this amount of money, or we've got this loan, etc., etc. But you do have something to adjust your pricing to. All right, and then the second reason why they might pull back when you want to show them the quote is because of the whole, it's because of the fact that they feel pressured. They feel like they're gonna go to an appointment to get closed, and they don't want that, which is completely understandable. If you've been a prospect on any service or product, you should be able to empathize with them. But we need to be strategic and we need to be elegant. Yes, we do want to make a little bit of pressure. We want to convince them. We want to close them, but we cannot be so straightforward. We cannot speak so directly. What we're gonna say is that this meeting or this appointment is not going to be to put pressure or to make them sign the contract or whatever. No, it's actually just going to be so that they can understand what are you quoting, why, how much does it cost, why does it cost what it costs, what does it include, guarantees, etc., so that they kind of have a clear idea of what is it or what is the proposal about. All right, so that then later down the line, when they have to compare with other companies' quotes, they kind of have a good understanding of what we do, and they can have or they can make a good comparison. All right, this is what we're going to say, which is completely true, by the way. Like, the prospect is going to realize is on his best interests to go to this second appointment, because he's not going to get pressured because you've told him that you're not going to pressure him. And second, he's actually going to be able to understand your proposal, because he's going to acknowledge he doesn't know anything about construction. So if I actually want to make an informed decision, if I actually want to choose the best company, I need to be able to understand, well, what is it that they are quoting, why, and what is it that the other company is quoting, and why. All right, you will do this, and I guarantee you right now, your closing rate is going to skyrocket. It can double or triple just because of this little fix on the sales process, having that second appointment. Things are going to be just way different. I hope you found it helpful, and see you on the next video.